Don is Technical Manager for Pavement Recycling Systems Incorporated, where he focuses on the development of recycled products in pavement preservation and rehabilitation. He provides technical support for all company projects, including pavement consulting, education, and value engineering services internally, as well as to a variety of public and private clients for the implementation of appropriate pavement preservation and rehabilitation strategies that incorporate recycled and green technologies. Don received his bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Cal Poly Pomona and his master's degree from Cal State Long Beach. He is a registered engineer in the state of California and Arizona. Please join me in welcoming Don.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to get through this a little bit quicker because I know we're on a little bit tight schedule. So we've talked a lot about removing the material. Now let's talk about reusing it. So what do we know? Well, asphalt has always been recycled. In fact, it's the #2 recycled material, just right behind recycled water in the world. Everybody should know it's a very, very valuable commodity to use right back into hot mix. The only issue is that's generally based upon, hey, how close is it to the hot plant? Are they selling more than they're bringing in, so they don't have large stockpiles and inventory buildup? We also use RAP in a lot of ways. We use it as shoulder backing, milling it off, putting it on the sides of the road, selling it over to truckman equipment yards, haul roads, dust control on a dirt road. We're starting to use it now as a base layer. Caltrans in California gives it actually a higher value than its aggregate base because of the binding characteristics. All these are great uses, but the problem is they're actually a low value for the value of the asphalt and the aggregates in there. So there's no need to squander virgin aggregate. How many people are having permitting issues getting new aggregate facilities in their states? We have a few of them. In California, it's almost impossible now. You just can't do it. So years ago, we started looking at using RAP as other aggregate uses, and we find out that it works well. It's normally the high quality material. It's got a neutral charge, so it works well with a lot of binders. It doesn't have the sensitivity in some of the pavement preservation applications. It's very cost effective, and then it's environmentally smart. You start looking at the carbon footprint and you start realizing, wow, there's a big advantage to it. And a side benefit, we never tout this, but in a lot of applications, it just stays black a little bit longer. I'm not going to say it's a black rock, because it's not, but it stays black a little bit longer. So today what I'd like to talk about is 4 uses that we use it kind of routinely in California, and it's starting to spread out. In fact, FHWA put out a request for an evaluation on RAP chip seal and RAP slurries just recently. It was just recently announced the winner on who was going to evaluate all that. So we're going to look at cold central plant recycling. We're going to look at RAP chip seals, RAP slurry seals, microsurfacing, and then combination of RAP cape seals. So in cold central plant recycling, essentially we take the RAP and we make it into a new pavement. And you can do it one of 3 ways. You can use it on site, imported, or central facility. And I'm going to kind of go through those. So on site, an agency may have a project where they have a distressed roadway. We'll cold mill it. You can see that we're exposing some of the subgrade. So the nice part of this application is you go and fix any subgrade issues on it. And then we'll stockpile really close nearby, process it, and bring it back to the roadway. In imported, you may have one site that needs the pavement, but the other site needs to get rid of the RAP. So we'll end up taking the RAP from one highway or one roadway and then going to another site and use it on site at their facility. The third is what we've started developing. We've developed central plant facilities. So we take in RAP from all our milling projects throughout the state, and we start using it for other applications as aggregates and in cold central plant recycling. So essentially, to just go through the process, typically the RAP needs to be sized. We typically like to go a smaller size, more specific surface area. So we go down a 1" minus. I know in other areas, in Virginia, they may go up as 1¼ as much as 1½ inch. You can do this on site just simply by putting a screen. Run off the millings, scalp off the big stuff, just use the littler stuff. Sometimes you try to break it up a little bit more or not. Another way is using a closed-loop crushing and screening system. So you can just crush the material, put it over whatever the 1-inch screen, have it completely, everything crushed down to its 1 inch minus. Another area is to even go further, screen it further, segregate it, wrap fractionation, so you'll be able to combine it to even more of a specific gradation. The nice thing is when you do the wrap fractionation, like we do at our cold central plant, we can add new aggregate if we want to. So we can change structure a little bit. So in this particular case, we got a 1 inch by number 4 aggregate, and then we're a number 4 minus wrap, and then we add 3/8 inch virgin material if we want for a specific performance measure. After you got the wrap size, you're going to mix it. People always ask me, oh, do we use emulsion? Do we use foam? We use both. There's a lot of testing to go coming out, and a lot of testing that shows that, you know, there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages to both of them. In the long run, they both make an excellent product. We used indigenous emulsions, polymer modified. Sometimes, and depending on the agency, we may use a CMS2S, or as I say, we use an expanded foam. We almost always use some little additive. We like to use a little bit of cement, not for the structural characteristics, but for the curing characteristics, the timing to cause it to change the breaking characteristics, give us a little more short-term behavior. In the end, though, we want a flexible material. We want that asphalt to do the workload. Sometimes in some agencies, they require a lime slurry. We can do it on site with a combination plant where it has a crushing, screening, and pug mill all in one application. You just set up some belts, some feed hoppers, process it that way. Sometimes though, we have both plants. You can just use the standard pug mill. We'll go into one large, like we did a large airport just recently, and it wasn't really advantageous to make it while we were doing it, so we went in, stripped it all off. They refixed the grade, then we crushed it down, and then we just used a pug mill while we were making it right there for the application. You're going to load it in the truck, and you're going to transport it. We always want to, if it's going to go on back on existing AC, we want it tacked. In fact, I'd like to see it tacked a little heavier than this picture. Yeah, tacking is probably the single most important thing you can do in any asphalt application. We don't do it well enough with some of our customers. We then pave it. As you can see on the right, this was actually a very heavy urban application. We do this process, there's virtually no limitation in traffic. A standard California road just down is 30 to 40,000 vehicles per day. We do it all the time. Heavy highways, 60,000 vehicles per day. The key, though, is because of the higher air voids, you have to have really heavy rollers to compact it. So we use a 25-ton pneumatic, real heavy ton steel, and we actually compact it to a breakover density. I like this picture because it kind of gives you the surface. It looks like it's just a coarser, little bit coarser AC on there. You can see the surface on. On the right, I also like it because we do a lot of cold in-place recycling, and we use a little faster emulsion, because it's right behind the train. When we use the cold central plant, we might slow it a little bit. So you can see on the right side where the emulsion hasn't broken, and the right side, the pass that was just done probably about 30 minutes earlier where it has broken and started turning black. We don't lay anything down without protecting before we release it to traffic. We put down a fog seal. It gives it a little bit of tighter surface on it, and then we sand it just so we make sure that nobody's tracking that fog seal into their car dealership or wherever. And then we release it to traffic. We let traffic go on it. It can be several days. It can be several months if the asphalt plant lost their permit or something like that. At some point, though, with emulsion, we re-roll it. We can get about a 4% increase in density by letting the water dry out and re-rolling it and doing a new breakover curve. Typically don't do that with foam because it doesn't I still will re-roll it, but we don't do it like to a specific breakover. Cold recycle, though, has higher air voids. You're gonna, there's a lot of testing that's being done, and it's showing as it fully cures, it starts approaching the behavior of hot mix. But that takes years, 1 to 6 years, depending on who the science you're talking to right now. But the one thing we do know is it doesn't have the same shear strength that it does on hot mix. So it can't be left open to traffic. So we always have to put something on it. Now, in lower volume traffic areas, we just put like a slurry seal, microsurfacing, maybe a chip seal. As it goes up a little higher, though, we'll put a thin overlay. Most agencies like to place as thin as overlay as they can. It's not the overlay, it's giving the structure. They just want it for the shear resistance. Just a real quick case example. We did a job for the city of Menifee. The thing I like this, Andrea talked about LA County. LA County does this a lot, this particular application. We'll go in, we'll strip off the AC, and then we'll cement treat the subgrade. They go in and fix the subgrade in it, then use this cold recycled material maybe as the first 3 inches of the AC, and then they come back with as thin as overlay as they can on top of it. Another application where we just did an existing auto auction. It was actually it was closer to about 5 million square feet. This was just the first phase, but again, we stripped off the AC in one phase, paved it back, and then kept moving over. I'd like to switch gears now a little bit and start talking about RAP being used as aggregates. So we used it in chip, and I will tell you that back in about 2005, our company really focused on the microsurfacing and slurry application of using RAP. And I was a little worried about using RAP chip because I was afraid that it would start kneading the surface together. Well, what's meaning is it heats up, the traffic gets on it. Well, what I'm finding now is that's the benefit that every agency likes the best. So they actually go hand in hand. When you look at RAP, you need to understand that when you crush it, you're going to crush it to a gradation, but some of that will not be just pure individual stones like we have on the left. Some of them will be conglomerates over there where the asphalt's binding smaller aggregate particles. As it turns out, that doesn't matter. What everybody wants with the chip seal is the benefit that it provides the surface, and actually the RAP ends up providing a better surface. This is our standard gradations that we use. We make 2. We make a medium 3/8, we call it. So that's the gradation of the RAP, not extracted aggregate, of the RAP aggregate. The other thing is we want to make sure that we always have a 3.5% minimum residual asphalt content on it, meaning that we're not getting enough dirty material in there, or we're not getting too much virgin material in there. Andrea talked specific about the medium fines. That used quite a lot in the urban areas. The 3/8 is more in the rural areas. One of the first things that agencies need to get a handle on is we don't want to wash this product. With typical chip and crushing it, you get all those, you may get some smears on there, you may get some fines on that don't bind very well. When we crush this, though, we want this material to bind, and that what's essentially the fines is asphalt. In fact, I just literally for 3 years, LA County has gone 100% to this. A lot of agencies we have near us have gone 100% to us. I couldn't get this county of San Bernardino, largest county in the country, to use this because they had a cleanliness value. And we could meet all the specification, durability, everything, but we couldn't meet the cleanliness because we don't wash the chip. They wouldn't do it, they wouldn't do it. Ironically, though, they were the test project that we first did years ago, but those people moved on. Nobody remembered it. How many agencies have that issue? And then this year, they couldn't get supply, so they said they were forced to say, okay, we're going to take your material. They did one project. Since then, they've gone 100% to it. In fact, we did almost 20,000 tons of chip for them so far just this year. Just this year after they started trying it. I can say this with hesitation because this is not a unique process to us. We just started it, and California did it more. But any agency who switch over, when they switch it or try it, doesn't go back. They just like the wrap chips so much better. LA County gave us a big challenge because they want to use it with rubber. So when we do with emulsions, it's pretty nice. We can actually throw some water on it to keep the dust down. You know, the wetter the better in emulsion applications. But on rubber applications, what happens when you have water hit hot asphalt? Starts foaming, think about the fried chicken going in the frying pan when it's still a little wet from thawing out. So we had to kind of do a process where we dried the chip out a little bit and use this. And so now they started using this instead of using pre-coated asphalt chips. What they do is they go to a hot plant and say, hey, we need about 1% asphalt or a 0.5% asphalt on these chips so it would stick. Well, that was very, very expensive. So we started doing this, and they'll use it. But now our facility has an issue when if it's rubber, we got to try to dry it out, and if it's being used for emulsion, they want it wet. We use it with a polymer modified chip seal, 5/16 right there on it. As I told you, I did it back in 2006. Started the RAP slurry back in about 2005. I'm going to talk to you about that now. But then tried what we had left, and we did this project in 2006 with a 5/16 chip with San Bernardino County. They did it installed. It's right by our facility. I love going out there. Just recently I went out there, and it still looks really good. Really, really good. It gives you a darker coloring. The traffic actually makes it look better. So then the LA County started wanting to use, let's do it on scrub seals. Well, you can see what one of their first projects was back in 2009, off to the right picture. Now, is that a pavement preservation type roadway? No, okay. But how many agencies are here that have more than enough money to do everything they want? Well, really? I almost got a hand. I was going, oh, wait a minute. Everybody wants to take a picture with you. Okay, so somebody asked, okay, Allie, why'd they go to the chip seal, scrub seal on Double Grove? Money. Hot mix asphalt, even a thin mill and fill, just costs so much more. So people are using, I don't want to use the term Band-Aids, but they're using alternative processes to try to get their money to go farther. So scrub seals are actually showing a lot of promise right now. And it's where you take a chip seal, but you scrub the emulsion in it, crack sealing. NCAD has been doing some testing, if you're familiar with that shows the benefit. This is actually, I wanted to get out there, I didn't have time, but 6 years later, you can see that same area where the cracks are filled. Now, I'm not going to say you can't see them, but the water's not getting into them. It's holding up really well. And there's some areas of the project that look really, really good. So it's just an application that LA County has found is cost effective and giving them a lot more life. We started with microsurfacing RAP and microsurfacing slurry with RAP. And way back in 2004, I started experimenting, and I got a company to say, hey, let's come out and try it. And so they worked with us, and they liked it, but they weren't incentivized. They just didn't want to, the agency's paying us for regular aggregate, there's really no sense of it. So we ended up buying the company. And we put on their metrics, you got to start going more with RAP slurry. Well, they started getting agencies involved, and what they found is it took a little change. We had to do things a little bit differently. We had to open up some things in our hoppers, and we have to roll it. But what they found is when they started doing with the agencies, every agency's only wanted that, and they are the only ones who had it. Guess what? Better economics for them. So it just started growing big. As I say, any agency who does it doesn't go back. So when we look at the RAP slurry and microsurfacing aggregates, there's not as many conglomerates, but it's a finer, because it's a finer mix. But there are some. You can see by far the biggest issue is stockpiling handling. Okay, is when you let this sit, what happens in a lot of heat? It starts clumping up on it. So we found techniques of dealing with that. We make it fresher. We have some screens on the equipment. The other difference between this and conventional aggregates is there's not as many fines. So we built our kind of own gradation. And what happens is because you don't want to crush down all those fines, you're making more specific surface areas. And we don't need as many fines. In a regular slurry or microsurfacing, you need that fines for binding and to absorb a lot of the emulsion that you're going to add with it. With RAP, we don't. We did find out about the clumping, and so we have a standardized process that we put in. And what's interesting now is we have like a company that makes the material, and then we have a company that applies it. Well, our company that makes it now, we're selling it to our competitors, to the company who's applicant. Because the city agencies are specifying, and we're saying, no, this is not proprietary. So we actually go out and train our competitors, a couple of the few minor things that they got to do. And once they've started it, we've had our competitors to convince agencies to switch over to it. They find it's just it provides actually a better product in the long term. You do have to rub it. We do have to roll it. We use a rubber tie roller to roll everything. And we use a 3% modified emulsion on everything. We find it adds a little bit better retention until everything starts softening up and it goes together. To that end, though, we're allowed to, we use less emulsion. So it's actually just as cost effective, if not a little cheaper than conventional slurries, because that asphalt's there, we use less. You can use conventional equipment. This is just kind of like 1 year later, one agency wanted to do both, and you can kind of see on the left, it's just a little bit blacker. It's not a lot better, but it is blacker. When we find 5 years, the right grays out even a little more than the slurry. I actually have the video on the double grove. It's about 3 minutes. Do we have time to go ahead and play it? So it kind of ties everything we've been talking about together in, if I can figure out how to play this. There we go. And the reason why we're kind of showing this is LA County was doing it for years, and they finally said they got to start touting their own successes. So you can see all the streets that were done. Yeah, it was only about 2.4 lane miles, but they had a lot of areas in really bad condition. So they did some limited dig outs first. Some limited patching just in the really bad subgrade areas. So this is what we talked about most of the morning is we micromill. And LA County's got to the point they won't do any pavement preservation without micromilling. They think they get better bonds. They clean off the gutters. They don't, all those buildups of materials are gone now, and I mean, I love when they go in because they promote it more than anybody. So you can see the scrub application that we're applying the emulsion, and then we have a set of brooms that broom in the emulsion behind it. And then it's just a standard chip machine that applies the chip, and you can see the RAP chips placed down there. You roll it and sweep it like you would any other chip seal application. And you can see it starts filling in some of the cracking. And then we just put a RAP slurry over it. Now we tend to use those slurries a little bit more than microsurfacing out in California because we have the weather to do it. And then one of the things the county does, and I suggest to any agencies who start using any type of environmental type process, start calculating your energy savings. Use that as a promotional tool. It makes a huge difference. We did a job for the city of Moreno Valley for a cold in place recycling. Just wrote a little how they save so many tons of emulsion, so many less barrels of oil used, how much energy saved. They put a little blurb in the newspaper. They had more phone calls on that job, on what a good job the agency was doing, than any other of the jobs where they only get the phone calls of what they're doing bad. So I just got a few more slides here, and one of the things that's happening is we're starting to get agencies who want to look how to do this, and there's a couple of ways to do this. One is you can just specify it in conventional bids. You just say, hey, it shall be a RAP chip or RAP slurry or cold central plant. But the other agencies are starting to stockpile their own materials, and they're doing RAP management. Meaning that they're looking for, like, actually El County has it, where they got 3 sites where they're specifying on their jobs, the RAP on regular jobs come to them, and then they process it out and start using their own materials for their products. The other option is like we do. You know, hey, listen, we're a commercial industry. We have 3 of these throughout California. We're a milling contractor. We run 80-something mills. So when we take those RAPs and we can't find a dump site, we'll send them to our facilities. And we've gotten to the point, there's such a value to it, we're able to offer our other divisions some credits for it because we're starting to sell those. So this is one of our facilities. And we just make the materials ahead of time or as needed. Right now, we service LA County, San Bernardino County, Riverside County just did their first demonstration, the other project. They already said that they're putting out a bid next season. But you can also use this as your own, make your own urban quarry. Figure out a site and start bringing in your RAP and start doing some on-site management. So this is a plant that we use that we did for Caltrans where they had a bunch of millings from a job that they put it on some right-of-way, and one of the maintenance engineers said, hey, I could use this. So we went in and crushed simultaneously, if you set it up right, the chip and the slurry, and they used a Cape Seal on Highway 10 on the way to Arizona. Actually, that maintenance engineer didn't get any approval from anybody, just essentially did it on their own fundings, and then later was given like recognition for being innovative and using it. So kind of to summarize, this is a reality for us. See the houses next to these aggregate facilities? You know, more and more urban invasion on aggregate pits. You can't find the aggregates. We're shipping in sand from Mexico and rock from Canada as I stand here today. One of the solutions is your own assets. It's in your roadways. Use RAP. And I'm not just saying willy-nilly, but if you do good quality control testing and you do it right, some of our best aggregates are in our streets right now. Any questions?
I think we'll have time for one question. So if there's someone with a real eager hand up, we'll take you.
Don, rubber wrap versus polymerized wrap versus conventional wrap, they're all created equal for you?
We have problem with rubber wrap and cold central plant recycling because of rebound during compaction, but we're not finding a problem with it in the chip or the slurry because of the aggregate as opposed to compaction. Yeah, so re-rolling, what we'd like to do is we like the moisture, because what happens is when you first compact it, there's a moisture trap in there and there's a buoyancy effect and it's a cooling. So what we like to do is, when I say 2 to 10 days, it's when the moisture gets down to about 2% residual and you know everything's broken if you're using an emulsion. So we re-roll it when we get a high sun, go out there like 90-degree pavement temperature, which could be as low as 60 degrees, ambient temperature out there with the sun, and we just re-roll it when the moisture's gone down. That's a couple of days later. Now the traffic starts doing it itself, but we like to do it uniformly across on the re-roll. And then the cement, we want to maintain a 3-to-1 binder to cement ratio, meaning whatever your residual binder is to cement, you maintain at least 3-to-1 so you maintain flexibility. But we do add a little, so like if you're adding 3% emulsion and it's 2% binder, so you would want to add like 0.6%, 0.67% cement, so that you still maintain the flexibility, but what happens is the cement adds in the early strength, it sucks out some of the moisture and provides some strength that traffic actually will break down when they get on it, and that's what we want. The traffic is supported by the flexible asphalt. Actually, for hydrated lime with a CMS2S, we still wait a couple of days before we re-roll it. Foam, we may not re-roll it, but we still wait a couple of days before overlaying it, because we want to make sure some of the water has dried out and the foam has completely stuck to the aggregate.
So thank you very much, Don. Excellent presentation. Excellent other presentations as well. And I'm sure they'll be available throughout the rest of the week. Thank you all for coming.